Okay, so in this lesson slash project, we're going to talk a little bit about visual effects. And I'm going to break this out. It's going to be just like the introduction and the idea of what this project is. Part two is going to be just how you deal with green screen and how you actually can remove the green screen and put a different background in. Part three will be the color correction, how to kind of make it look a little better. Part four is going to be what we call keyframing, and then part five is going to be sound effects. These will all be linked in the YouTube description, so you can jump around if you don't need to listen to all of it. So to start with, the whole idea of this is that you're going to do some basic visual effects. We're going to film ourselves on a green screen, and then we're going to apply some computer generated images or footage to make it look a little cooler. Now the idea of it actually got inspired by Mortal Kombat. So the video game in which you can choose a character and it shows like a little intro about that. So just a few examples here. Now, obviously, these are computer generated, and these are models. They're not real people, but we're going to kind of do it as if we were the person. So you will film yourself on a green screen. We'll remove the green. You can put whatever background you want. In this case, of course, it's just black. And then you're going to add different elements and sound effects to kind of make it look cool. Now, these are quite advanced. We're not going to get into anything that fancy, but this is the idea of it. So let's get going right now. And once you have your basic idea, that's when you want to get filming. So part one, I guess, is going, or I guess say part two, is going to be the green screen technique itself. So let's just jump into Premiere here. We're going to make a new project. And I'm going to make a project called my VFX green screen or something like that. Now, I've already got a little bit of footage that we're going to use. So I've got these two clips, and I'm going to leave them for you guys so you can, practice with them or whatever. One of them is called Fireball Guy, and one of them is called Jumping Guy. And they're super weird, but whatever. It's just for practice. So in this case, we have this guy who is, looks like he's going to kind of throw a virtual fireball or whatever, and he's on this massive green screen. So we'll use this. It's about 14 seconds. It's way too long. We're going to cut that down, but for now, this one will be fine. So let's make a new sequence. So go to our new sequence button, our new button, go to sequence. And as you guys hopefully remember, we're always going to use AVC HD, 1080p, 1080p 30, because that's what we're going to be filming with. And sequence one is fine. Click OK. So I don't need this whole lead up and everything, so I'm just going to do a quick in and out point. So maybe from right here, getting ready, and maybe that's even too much right there. And he shoots it. Okay, and then he kind of walks away. So we'll go in there, out there, drag that in. If I get a little message that says, do you want to change the sequence? You are going to say no. So, okay, so now I've got my clip in here. So let's talk about how to get rid of the green screen. And the way that you do it is with an effect called Ultra Key. So I'm going to go to my effects over here, and I'm going to do a search for Ultra. So key refers to the idea of removing a certain color, in this case, a green screen. So I'm going to take my Ultra Key, I'm going to drag it onto Fireball Guy, and you're going to see that nothing actually happens. I need to go into my effect controls. Now, under my effect controls, I've got my motion, my opacity, my time remapping, all this stuff, and there's Ultra Key. Before we even get into Ultra Key, you have to start at opacity. And what I want to do here is that in the opacity tab, instead of actually adjusting the opacity or transparency, I'm going to create an opacity mask. Okay, and if I click on this pen tool, I'm literally just going to click around myself or my character like that, finish where I started, and it's going to cut everything out except for what you've contained. Now you also want to go through and make sure that you didn't actually cut off any part of it, like right there, it's kind of cut off his arm, so I'll just move that out a bit. What we want to do here is get rid of all of the extra stuff. And there could be props in there, you might see lights, who knows. In this case, it's just black, but we want to get rid of all of that. So I've done my opacity mask right there. That's good. Now what I can do is I can actually go down to my Ultra Key. That was that effect that we just put on, and we can do a few settings. So we're going to start with the key color. We're going to take this eyedropper and just choose a green that looks like the most consistent green on the screen. So probably right about here. Now, that does not look good, right? You can see it's not looking good at all. So we have to adjust this a bit. We're going to change the output of the Ultra Key from composite to alpha channel. And the goal here now is that anything that's white will be kept and anything that's black will disappear. So this is all sorts of ugly, so we need to change this up. So let's go to the matte generation, and the general rule under matte generation, start at the bottom, work your way up. So I'll start with my pedestal, I'll increase it, and you don't want to increase it too much, but you want to increase it enough to kind of get your desired effect. So in this case, we want the background all black. So if I increase that to about, I don't know, 51 or so, maybe even I get up to 60 or 70, that's not too bad. If I need to adjust it more, I can do the tolerance. Okay, so the tolerance will give me a few minor settings there, not quite as much as pedestal, but enough. So just change that a bit. And again, I want it to be all white and the background to be black. If I need to adjust shadows, I can. So you can see that adjusts kind of the shadows in there. Highlight, you can see, so you might be getting some little high bright areas. The highlight will help deal with that. And then if you still need to, there's transparency to adjust it like that. But again, the general rule is you work your way from the bottom to the top of matte generation. Once you've done that, let's go back to composite up here. And there we go. Now the first thing I'm noticing is that there's a bit of an outline, almost like a glow around him, which is no good. Very common in green screen. So what I'm going to do about that is I'm actually going to go to my matte cleanup. Open that up, and I'm going to apply a bit of a choke. And what a choke does, if you do too much, it cuts away too much. It actually just takes away a few pixels around the body. So you can see there's that green outline. If I increase that to about 35, it seems to take it away. And now when I preview it, it's looking pretty good. Okay, super weird, but whatever, it's fine. Now, I can also do other things. I can adjust how like soft it is around the edges. You might get a better look if you soften it. These are all things you can try. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Now, as a good test, I want to see what it looks like because it looks okay on black, but let's see what it looks like on another color. So let's go back to project and let's go new item and let's make a color matte. So under color matte, click OK. Choose anything you want. I'm going to choose, I don't know, blue color here. Click OK, call it blue. And if I put it up here, all I see is blue because it is above my fireball guy. So I actually want to move fireball guy up. And there we go. So now it's actually pretty happy with that. It's looking pretty good. I think the cutout on that, or the keying, is done really well. Now what's really neat now is I can actually resize him because he's all green screened out, right? So I can go to my motion and I could scale him down. I could move him around. And because I've cut out all that extra stuff and he's just on green, I have a lot of flexibility of what I'm doing. You know, I could make it even bigger, even though I'm kind of making it blurry there. Go like that. So you can see a lot of flexibility when you're using a green screen. And you can see he's looking pretty blurry now, and that's because I've just scaled him too much. The other thing is when you get really close, you might notice like part of the face is cut off. That's because of the choke, right? Remember what we talked about earlier. So you may have to actually like back that off depending on what kind of result you're getting. But again, it's just everyone's going to be a little different. You just have to play around with it. So let's take that scale back down a little bit. Now I don't want the blue background. That's pretty boring. So I'm just going to get like a background from online. You know, I'll do a search for something like haunted forest. Do a haunted forest for images. I think the one I was looking at was over here. Make sure, actually, before I even grab one, I should probably go to tools and just make sure that I'm using a large image. We've talked about that. It's always going to look a little better. So here we go. I'll grab this scary one. I'll download that, and then I can import it into my footage here. So I've actually got just all my files in one folder here. So I'll just take haunted forest, drag that in, and I don't need that blue anymore. I'll drag haunted forest in, and there we go. Now the picture, you can see it doesn't fit perfectly, so it looks really dumb. that there's those black lines. So what I'll do is I'll just take the haunted forest and I'll just go to, click it, go to motion, and just increase the scale just a little bit. So from here, now it makes more sense of how I might want to resize him, right? So maybe I'm going to make him a little bit smaller, put him over there. And in this case, he's eventually going to be firing a fireball maybe across the screen. Maybe I put another character in there and then he can fire it out. So that is basically your green screening and how you do your background, right? So we use what's called an Ultra key. So now let's switch over and actually talk about how to do some color correction. And color correction is pretty easy, but you want to make sure it matches. It just, right now, it's not looking very good. His pants are super dark. He's dark. He's in this kind of lighter, hazy background. So I got to fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go up top here to color. And when I go to color, you may have to drag this over a bit. You have something called Lumetri Color. And it's super easy to work with. If it's not already, click on Basic Correction to show your basic color correction tools. And just start working your way through here. I can adjust the temperature, so if I go this way, it's going to make it more blue. If I go this way, it's going to make it more orange. I could apply a tint, but that might look kind of weird. That's like going to make them green or pink and stuff. I don't really want to do that. I can adjust the exposure, make them a full shadow, make them really light, and you just kind of play around until it generally matches your background a little bit better. One thing I would probably do at the start is lower your saturation. Sometimes your colors are going to be really bright from the camera, so you actually want to desaturate them a bit with this tool here. So I'm going to take that one down. I can adjust the whites a little bit. I can adjust the blacks a little bit. I don't really like how dark his pants are in this case, so I'm trying to just lighten it a little bit. Okay, adjust my highlights. And you just kind of want it so it blends as best you can. We're just eyeballing it at this point. If I take the contrast way down, it almost looks like he's in the fog there, which is kind of neat. So just to give you an idea, that's where I was, and that's where I am. So I think that looks a little bit better. It kind of fits the scene a little bit nicer. So now I've done some basic color correction. Almost sick of hearing this guy scream. Okay, so that's your color correction. So now we've filmed. We've done an Ultra key to get rid of the background. We've really cleaned it up. We've put him into a scene. We've added some color correction. Now the next step is what's called keyframing. And this is where you get to be really, really creative. For keyframing, we're going to show you how you can take an actual like an element, whether it be a picture or a video or something, and actually move it around to match the scene. So where do we get all this footage? Well, to start with, in the folder for the class project on the Common Drive, you will find something called Action Essentials. And that Action Essentials, there's one, I think it's called Action Essentials 720. It has all these folders here. And when you go through them, you look at, I don't know, fire. When you click on one, where are we? Here we go. It just has the actual footage of what it's describing. So somebody has made all of these. They've actually recorded them. And there's all these different ones that you can implement into your scene. So, everything from like wisps of smoke to wall hits if you're doing like a bullet shot or something. Some of them happen really quick and it's hard to see them. But when you bring them into your footage, you'll notice them much more. Debris can be flying around, bouncing debris like that. You've got a light bulb shatter, just all sorts of things. So I don't know, just to give you an idea, maybe I'll start with like a fire here, and I don't know, fire 5. Maybe I wanted the ground to be on fire. It's kind of weird, but let me try it. So I'm going to take fire 5, drag it in to my clip, and I'm going to drag that on top. Okay, so now I don't know if I want the fire to be above him or below him, but I can just, adjust that as needed. So if I put him above, now he's above the fire. But just like the character, I can take that fire, go to my effect controls, and I can move it around. I could scale it up a little bit, move it over, and now that's a lot of fire. probably a little too much for what I'm trying to get here. So I might decide, you know what, that's not what I want. Maybe I want to just have, whoops, a little bit of fire off to the side. And again, just like anything, go over to my color panel, and I may have to adjust it to have it fit the scene a little bit better. Right now it's really, really bright. I might desaturate it a little bit. Right, so I've got a little fire in the scene now. Okay, let's talk about that fireball. He's going to throw a fireball, right? Now, if you don't have anything in the action essentials that is what you want, so in this case a fireball, of course you can jump to YouTube, right? So you could just do I don't know, energy ball, maybe on green screen, and I'd be very surprised if you don't find lots. Okay, so here we go, red plasma energy ball. I could take that. Now, there we go. It's giving me two versions, one on black, one on green. Green, use the Alt key, right? If you if you can't find the one you want, and you can't find it on green, you can only find it on black, you can talk to me and I can show you exactly how to fix that. But you know, lots of stuff you can get. The other thing is, if you're looking for something very, very specific, there is a website called Footage Crate. Now, I will be honest, it costs money, but I do have an account. So if there's something you really, really need, like maybe you go to Magic Powers and you go to Energy Balls and you're like, oh, I need this Magic Sakura Power 1, I can get that. Okay, you just have to talk to me about it and I can talk to you about how we can get that for you. So I've actually downloaded that one, the Magic Sakura. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and I'm going to take Magic Sakura and I'm going to drag it in. If I look at it, there we go. It's just this kind of pink color, everything's swirling around, looks kind of cool. Let's drag that in. And there it is. And once again, effect controls, I can scale it down. I can adjust different colors of it because I've got my, my Lumetri color on it. I can do whatever I need to do with it. In this case, I kind of want it to be pretty bright. Now let's talk about how to actually make him throw it. And this is what keyframing is all about. So first thing is I have to figure out whereabouts he is going to throw it. So it's kind of, he's moving, and right about there, he starts throwing it. So I think kind of at this point, we should probably see part of it. So let's grab it. I just moved it over. It's going to start right there. And I'll just shorten it there. Okay. Now, right now, it is above him. I actually want it behind him because I think it's going to look cooler if he's actually in front of it when he kind of does this move here, right? Because it'd be by his chest there. So I'm going to just put that behind him. And you can see as you do VFX, your layers are going to start getting more and more, right? You might have 6, 7, 8 layers by the time you're done this. Okay. First thing I don't like, it's a little too big. So I'm going to take that clip there and I'm just going to scale it down a bit. Something like that. And I want to start right there. So I'm going to go to my motion and whoops, not him. Just make sure you're on the actual energy ball. And I can move that. Let's say it's right there. And you know what? I want it to be quite small at the start. I'm going to say it kind of gets bigger over time. And I can move that there like that. Okay, so now keyframing. Any attribute that has these little, they look like stopwatches, means that you can keyframe it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keyframe the position. And when I keyframe it, it starts by activating the animation of it. And it puts these little diamonds there. That's kind of a half diamond. But what it means is at this point in time, that's where it's going to be. But then maybe a few frames later, like 1, 2, 3, 4, right there, maybe I actually want it to be there. So now what happens is over a period of about 4 frames, it moves. So you see it almost looks like he's pushing it now. And that's keyframing. So as soon as I get to there, maybe I want it to start speeding up. So I'm going to move forward a little bit more and shoot it there and up. So now it kind of looks like he's, and I'm just going back and forth, it looks like he's throwing it. And when you're looking at your keyframes, see if I can find them here, the closer they are together, the faster it happens. So if I wanted that to go even faster, I could push it together. If I wanted to go slower, I'd push it apart. It doesn't look quite as good though. So let's push that together like that. Okay, so now he's got that going. Now, so the direction of that is actually pretty good. Pretty happy with that. But I don't know, maybe it should get bigger over time as well. So I can again start keyframing it because scale can be keyframed. So as soon as it leaves his hands, let's set the scale. It starts at 14, and maybe by the time it gets to here, it is 37. So that means over a few frames, it actually grows, kind of like that. Now, it doesn't really make sense that it stops dead there. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go to this keyframe right here, and I'm just going to push it right off the screen. So now, if I go all the way back over here, there's no fireball, no fireball, no fireball. Starts, kind of comes right behind him and shoots out like that. And I get that cool effect there. Now that could hit somebody, that could bounce around, you could do whatever you want with it. Let's add something else. Maybe as I was going through my Action Essentials, I thought that there's some sparks that might be kind of cool. So there's these spark hits, right? So I don't know, maybe just sparks for a couple seconds would look neat as it shoots out. So I don't know, spark 6 looks kind of cool. Drag that over. Okay, and once again, I'm going to have that, I think, actually, no, I'll have that in front of him. So I'm going to take spark 6. There it is. And I'm going to select it. I'm going to rotate it, I think, because it should be coming out of his hands. Figure out what I like here. Maybe, I mean, I only need it for a few seconds. I kind of want it just as he's shooting that fireball out. Yeah, something like that. So as soon as that leaves his hands, right about there maybe, that looks pretty good, I'm going to take those sparks, oops, you can see it starts getting confusing of what you might actually be holding on to. So let's put that right there, shrink that down a bit, right there. Actually, you know what, maybe I will have it behind his hands. I think that might look a little better. And they shoot like that. Now I don't want the sparks to last that long, so as soon as that ball leaves, I'll just shorten it, and now we've got a few sparks coming out. And like I've talked about before, you could actually increase, you know, the temperature, you could adjust the exposure, you can adjust all your color correction to kind of change what those sparks might look like. So let's see how it's looking here. I've still got this fire, which is kind of not really in there for any reason at this point, but okay, so I need more, of course, you know, like maybe I'm going to have a smoke trail behind it. Maybe I'm going to have him kind of then look at the camera. Maybe I'd filmed him looking at the camera and says, I am the best, or I don't know, something silly like that. I think to finish it off, we should just add some sound effects in there. Sound effects can be kind of difficult to get, but, you know, just going on YouTube is a really good way to do it. You know, maybe talk about a energy ball sound effect. Okay, and you can just start looking through here, just see what you can find, you know. And you might even find like other people that have done stuff like this. Here's a really simple one that I came across earlier. Having good sound effects is really going to sell it. You can even put some music in there too. If you can't find something on YouTube, you might be able to find something in the sound effects folder in the Common Drive. So in here, you know, you've got like, you'll have to just play around, but I know the one called Motion Pulse is pretty good. So if you go to Motion Pulse, and I think it's in like Velocity, there's something called Power Whooshes. And you just play around, you listen to them, you find out what works well. Okay, so take 4, drag it in. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag that. Now this is a sound effect, right? So with that sound effect, where'd it go? Right there. It has to go in the audio channel. So if I find the spot right where he throws that, right about there, we'll add that whoosh. I'm a little off, so you just have to kind of, you know, move it around until it matches. That's not too bad there. And there's so many things you can do here. I mean, once you have the basics of keyframing, you can just kind of make some really, really cool examples. You're going to want to look through the all the examples in the student drive. You'll see just tons of them, and you can hopefully get inspired with that. Hopefully that's enough to get you going. At this point, if you don't have your own footage, grab one of these clips, grab anything you can find in the Common Drive, and just start playing around with keyframing. It just takes a little practice, but once you get it, I think you're going to be able to go pretty far with it. Thanks.